a single Antoninianus from the reign of Gallienus. The coin was struck in the mid-260s of the Common Era. Seen edge-on, the silver wash has worn through. Beneath the wash, the copper core is exposed. Weighed and tested, the coin holds less than 5% silver. The Roman state introduced this denomination 50 years earlier. The starting silver content was roughly 1/2. Across 2 generations, the metal drained out of the instrument. The denomination did not change. The state continued to mint the coin and to denominate it nominally as silver. Every merchant who weighed one knew otherwise. The bankers knew, the tax collectors knew. The record exists in 2 parallel streams. The coin survives. So does the legislation that confirms what the coin reveals. The metallurgical record is the work of D.R. Walker. Across 3 volumes published from 1976 to 1978, Walker measured the silver content of every period Antoninianus. The metrology of the Roman silver coinage runs to thousands of analyses. The numbers do not rest on inference from price records. They rest on chemical analysis of surviving coins. The curve is not interpretive, it is metallurgical. Kenneth Harl's Coinage in the Roman Economy, published in 1996, provides the modern synthesis. Chapter 9 of Harl is the standard treatment of 3rd century debasement. Walter Scheidel sets the Roman curve in comparative frame. Debasement and real wage contraction run together across pre-modern economies. Nominal denominations hold. The market reprices what wages actually buy. Together, these 3 names anchor what the coins say. Walker for the data, Harl for the synthesis, Scheidel for the comparative frame. The legislative record runs in parallel. In November of the year 301 of the Common Era, Diocletian issued the Edict on maximum prices. The text survives in fragmentary inscriptions across the Eastern Empire. The most complete copy comes from Aphrodisias. The edict set ceilings for roughly 1,400 commodities. Within a decade, it was effectively dead. Subsequent legislation refers to it as a failure. The market had repriced the currency long before the state legislated the prices. Surviving copies are Eastern. Western enforcement remains contested. The edict's preamble assigns blame. Diocletian's text identifies merchant greed as the cause of inflation. The diagnosis is the market, not the currency. The state did not name its own minting decision. 2 streams converge. Walker's coins say the silver fell. Diocletian's edict says the prices rose. At one end, the metal in the coin. At the other, the price in the market. The records are independent and taken at different ends of the same event. The question this episode answers is not what happened. What happened is measured and dated. The question is how the chain ran. The other question is why the state's response addressed the symptom rather than the cause. The year 215 of the Common Era. Caracalla introduces the Antoninianus. The coin is valued at 2 denarii. It contains roughly 1.5 denarii of silver. The denomination sits above the metal. The structural choice that made debasement possible is made with the first issue. 2 generations of progressive decay follow. Under Philip I in the late 240s, the silver content holds at roughly 40%. Under Valerian in the 250s, the content drops between 20 and 30%. Under Gallienus, after his accession to sole rule in 260, the silver content collapses to under 5%. The result is a copper coin with a silver wash. The pressures are specific. Barbarian war on the Rhine and Danube. Civil war across 2 decades, the plague of Cyprian. Each emperor mints more to meet the demand. Each coin holds less of the metal that gives it value. By the mid-260s, the Antoninianus is no longer a silver instrument. In the early 270s, Aurelian issues a reformed coin with a new mark. The mark reads 20:1, 20 parts bronze to 1 part silver. Kenneth Harl reads the marking as administrative acknowledgement of a fixed silver to bronze ratio. Sylviane Estio reads it as a fiduciary tariff, a new value declared by state authority. The 2 readings differ on the mechanism. Either reading describes a state that has stopped pretending the coin is what its name implies. In 294 and 295, Diocletian issues a comprehensive monetary reform. The Argentius restores silver purity at 1 tier, roughly 95% fine. The Follis takes the Antoninianus's place at another tier, a large bronze with a silver wash. The bronze base is not fixed. In November of 301, the Edict on maximum prices arrives. Roughly 1,400 commodities receive ceilings. The edict assumes prices are an independent variable. The metal in the coin had already moved. The market does not comply. Within a decade, the edict is dead. The state has legislated the symptom while the currency itself remains debased. Constantine introduces the solidus from approximately 309. The coin is gold. 72 are struck from the Roman pound, 24 carats. By 326, the weight and purity are standardized. The solidus will hold its standard for over 7 centuries. The bimetallic split is permanent, gold at the top, copper at the bottom. The wealthy hold solidi. The poor transact in coin of indeterminate value. The state has solved the crisis for high-value transactions. The everyday economy is left in a coin the state will not stabilize. The diagnostic point. The audit existed at every level of the economy. Merchants weighed coins, banks tested them. Tax collectors discriminated good metal from bad. The state minted the records of its own debasement. Coin by coin, mint by mint, year by year. What the state did not do was synthesize across its own data. The same mechanism appears in 2 unrelated systems. Han China and the Byzantine Empire each produce a state that continues nominal denomination, while the metal content visibly decays. In Han China, the pattern arrives in 2 phases 2 centuries apart. The first phase belongs to Wang Mang. During his Xin dynasty interregnum, Wang Mang demonetized the standard Wuzhou coin. He issued a tiered system in the years 7, 9, and 14 of the Common Era. The reform revived archaic spade and knife coins. The market could not navigate the tiers. Economic dislocation contributed to the Red Eyebrows Rebellion. Wang Mang fell in 23 of the Common Era. Liu Shu, the Guangwu Emperor, restored Han, and with it the Wuzhou standard. The second phase is passive. Across the late 2nd century, Wuzhou coins are clipped, flans grow lighter. Copper purity declines. The state denominates the coin nominally. In 190, Dongzhuo melts the bronze of the Qin imperial monuments. These were the famed 12 metal men. He mints inferior coin from them. The Yellow Turban Revolt had begun 6 years earlier. Hans Bielenstein reads the late Han bureaucracy as losing enforcement capacity before recording capacity. The Byzantine parallel covers 40 years of the 11th century. Cécile Morrisson's metallurgical study documents the curve. Under Constantine IX Monomachos, from 1042 to 1055, the gold numisma begins to lose content. Under Constantine X Ducas and Romanos IV Diogenes, the loss accelerates. 5 emperors continue nominal denomination. In 1071, the Byzantine field army is destroyed at Manzikert. Under Michael VII Ducas and Nikephoros III Botaniates, the nomisma collapses further. By the accession of Alexios I Komnenos in 1081, the nominal nomisma holds 11% gold. The gold content falls from 24 carats under Basil II to 8 under Nikephoros III. Reform comes only in 1092. It follows catastrophe and dynastic change, not earlier calculation. Alexios issues the hyperpyron, the name meaning highly refined. It is struck at roughly 85% gold. It becomes the new standard. The pattern thread is shared across all 3 cases. Roman, Han, Byzantine. The audit existed at the level of the merchant, the tax collector, the banker. The state continued nominal denomination. The reform came late, or only at catastrophe, or not at all. The audit existed. Merchants weighed. Banks tested. Tax collectors discriminated good metal from bad. Every level of the economy held the data. The state minted the records of its own debasement. Coin by coin, mint by mint, year by year, the state continued nominal denomination at every step. Each emperor faced fiscal demand. Each minted more. Each coin held less metal. The Edict of 301 addressed the symptom. The bimetallic split protected the top. The follies abandoned the bottom. The legislation never named the cause. The same held under Wang Mang, under Gallienus, under Constantine IX Monomachos. In each case, the state's own coinage carried the diagnosis. The state did not read it. The pattern stands. Currency debasement outruns the audit. The state generates the signal. The market reads the signal. The state does not synthesize across its own data. The warning was on every coin. Subscribe for new episodes Monday through Saturday. Forensic Files every Sunday.